It's like a reward for getting out of that fucking quagmire of bullshit and mediocrity. And that's what it's got to be the Smith Rogan Academy and just say, look, don't do any of that shit.
Yeah.
You fucking do what you love and also find shit that interests you and go do that, because I didn't do that for a while. It's like a fucking purgatory.
You got to pursue it like your life depends on it.
You do, because it does.
It actually does.
It does.
It actually does. And you can get gig jobs. You could wait tables. You could drive Uber. I drove limos. I did construction. I did whatever I had to do. I delivered newspapers. I did whatever I had to do to try to like do a thing that, and I didn't know if I was going to make it, but back then, when you're 21 years old, you have no responsibilities.
Yeah.
No health insurance, no nothing, and you could just fucking try things.
Yeah.
Just try things. And if you don't do that, you're going to be sad. And that's the reality of the world we live in. When people want to talk to about the levels of depression in this country, what about the levels of purpose? And do they coincide?
Yeah.
With the levels of how many people have learned to control their emotions? How many people have learned to get their health in order? How many people have learned how to meditate? How many people have learned how to think about things before you make a decision and try to give yourself advice objectively? How many people have learned how to do that?
Over-medicate or not medicate at all.
Yeah, not medicate at all.
Yeah.
How many people have learned how to like apologize to your friends, apologize to your family if you made a mistake? How many people have learned to own up to when you were in the wrong, instead of just covering it up and pretending and arguing and trying to distort things? Just learn. Learn and grow. Like, we all make mistakes. And if you're on the wrong path in life and if you're doing something you don't want to do, figure out a way to get the fuck out of that job and actually do it. Don't talk about it. Fucking do it. Because if you don't, and if you do it, it's going to be so exciting. It's going to be terrifying. And you'll be like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm afraid. Oh my God, I gotta make this happen. But fucking go for it.
Yeah.
You don't have much time.
You have to.
You got to.
You have to.
If you don't, you're going to be sad. And that's just the reality of a lot of people. Or you're going to be angry. And it's really, you're not even angry at the things you think you're angry at.
Yeah.
You're angry at your existence.
Well, that's when I go back to this thing of, you want to talk about meditation, is whenever you get angry or anxious, whatever, say, look, you're living in the greatest fucking window of time ever in the history of fucking time.
Ever.
So what are you waiting for? The better window of time?
Right.
It's not coming.
Right.
And so when you put it in a sort of grandiose perspective, you're like, I'm going to enjoy the fucking shit out of today, because this is the best day in the fucking world ever.
It's the best day ever.
But not only in the world, in the history of the world, but in the history of every other planet that we know about.
And part of what makes it exciting is that we're almost blowing it apart.
Yeah. Well, that's the other problem.
Like, that's what you should enjoy. If you're sitting at a restaurant having a nice steak and a glass of wine, you should enjoy the fact that, we're not in rubble.
You should. That's a real thing.
That's a real thing.
That's a real thing. I feel like that every time I come back from somewhere, and that's one thing about reporting, is you come back and you're like, you really fucking enjoy. You really enjoy
this
life.
really is the promised land.
Yeah, it is.
It really is. I mean, clearly not for everybody, but also there's a possibility. The opportunity awaits itself right here. It really is the greatest country the world has ever known. In the middle of all the bullshit we're going through and all the chaos and all the potential wars that we're involved in and wars we're involved in, it's still the greatest